Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to take another look at this beaten stepchild of a motherboard, but we're going to do something a little different with it. This BIOS chip here is a UV EEPROM. We're going to flash. This is an Atmel AT29C010A. It says 12 PC. Double EEPROM. This is a flashable chip. And we'll put the plug and play BIOS on this board and see if that works. But before we do that, let's boot this up and see if my video capture system works. Alright, I'm going to power the computer on. Sorry about the black screen here. There we go. Video capture seems to be working. It's off the side of the screen a little bit, but that's okay. As we can see, it's the Award Modular BIOS. V4.15G. That means it's a non-plug and play BIOS, but this is the latest one for this board that is non-plug and play, with a date of 12/24/1996, Christmas Eve 1996. Alright, let's power this computer off and we'll see what we can't do about flashing this chip. Okay, we're back to the board. First thing we're going to do is pop off this BIOS chip right here. First, let's disconnect him from power. Unplug the video card too. I'm using these little pair of tweezers just to get under the chip, gently lift under it, and we'll get the other side too. And we'll pop him out. I need to replace or stick down that sticker to keep that from being accidentally erased. We'll put that aside for now. And this is our new chip. Need to make sure that it's in the right direction. There's a little notch there telling us which way is the most forward end. And there's a notch down here on the board. I don't know if you can see that in the picture. I'll bring the board up so we can take a look. See him right there next to the heatsink. All right. Then we just line this up with the pins. Line this up with the pins of the socket with this chip. Pins are a little too wide. I'm just pressing the pins against this wooden board I have under here. Make them a little more straight. And now it should just pop right in there. Just like so. Let's hook this all back up. And get some video. We'll plug the power in. On this AT motherboard, of course, the blacks go together. Black wires go right together in the middle. These just kind of wiggle in and press down into place. All right, let me switch cameras here and we'll see if we get video and all. All right, again with the black screen, let's power him on and see what happens. We get a beep. And looky there. Award Modular BIOS version 4.51 PG. The P stands for plug and play. So now this is a plug and play BIOS on this motherboard. No keyboard, I don't have anything attached to it right now. But it looks like that experiment worked. Let me plug a floppy drive into this and we'll see if we can get it to boot. All right, I have a floppy cable. This one is awfully long, but it'll serve the purpose. Now this red line, which I appreciate this one being a nice clear red line and not those dots you see so often, goes to pin 1, which is toward the back of the board here. We're going to see if the onboard controller works on this board. I kind of have my doubts. This is the beaten stepchild board and it has some broken traces on the back. And I suspect those traces lead to the onboard controller. I'm going to use this standard Mitsumi 1.44 meg floppy drive. If I can get the cord in there. There we go. And that says pin 2, but close enough. All right, now to get a floppy drive, a floppy disk. Okay, I now have an MS-DOS 6.22 boot disk. Last time I tried this, it worked just fine. Pop that in the drive like so. Let's get a keyboard connected here. I'm grabbing an adapter. This adapter. Got the power cable all in the way there. That's all right. And my keyboard, which you can see part of on the camera there. I'll plug him in just like so. And then flip the power switch. Alright, it seeked the floppy just fine. We're in the BIOS now. Standard CMOS, I don't have a hard drive. Letting them auto is fine. It is not that. There we go. We'll leave the date and time the way it is right now. We'll save and exit. Now we'll see if it actually works. I love hearing that beep. and a hard drive seek. Did I say hard drive? I mean floppy drive seek. Disk boot failure, insert system disk and press enter. Again, I don't think it has anything to do with the drive or the disks I'm using. The onboard controller might just be bad. Let's move this where I can get at it a little better. That disk out. We will try other disks just to be sure though. Non-system disk. It's a different message though. I have a memtest disk. Let's pop that in there and see what happens. That's not working. A Windows 98 startup disk. Sounds like it's doing something there. Starting Windows 98. We have no CD-ROM, so that's fine. Maybe I just have some bad floppy disks. The jury's still out on that one. I still think that... Huh. No, Windows 98 has detected that drive C does not contain a valid FAT or FAT32 partition. You're right, because there's no hard drive on this motherboard currently. That message would go away if there was a properly formatted hard drive on the system. It booted just fine from that. Very nice. Well, the BIOS update worked just fine without any issues. The first time I've ever done that. I'm surprised it went as flawlessly as I thought. Or as flawlessly as it did. I was expecting more problems. Knock on wood there, since things are going so well, why don't we try to put a hard drive on there? Well, for that I'm going to use this compact flash. It's a 4 GB module to Ide adapter. Pin 1 is on this side toward the power, like usual. And we're going to plug this into the primary IDE controller. Again, this is just a test because I'm still not sure if this controller on the board works. Primary one is right here. Pins are a little bent, so I have to line it up just so, very carefully. Very carefully lose my mind trying to get it on the motherboard, apparently. There we are. Now I'm going to switch camera again and we'll see what we can make of this. All right, the computer's on with that compact flash adapter on the board. There it goes. I'm going to get into the BIOS. So auto detect hard drives. Sees nothing on primary or secondary master or secondary slave. Let's leave that on auto and we'll see what happens. No, it's not detecting anything because I am kind of an idiot. And I didn't plug power into the compact flash adapter. Let me take care of that real fast. That thing needs power. Alright, I need an adapter for this. I'm going to plug this in just like so. Then we'll plug this end into this Molex connection on the power supply. Much better. Now let's plug it in and power it on and see what happens. All right, here we go. Pretty slow uptake on my video capture there. It's a secondary master. We'll go LBA on that. And we will save it and exit. We'll boot it up and see if we can't get that hard drive formatted. Well, compact flash card, but computer's reading it as a hard drive. Is it just frozen at PCI device listing? No. It just hung there for a second and now it seems to be booting just fine. Oh, we don't need CD-ROM support. I really should remove all the RAM drive stuff off of this disk. This is a boot disk from bootdisk.com. The Windows 98 disk with the RAM disk. And I've never had a need for one. That's alright though. It allowed this system to boot. Alright, let's go to F-disk. No partitions defined, that's fine. We'll create one. Verifying drive integrity. It's holding at 0%. Let's give that a minute and see what happens. See if we get any progress. I'm too impatient. I'm going to turn this off. I want to change that with a different compact flash card. I remembered something about those 4 gig cards. They are not ATA compliant, and they sometimes cause problems on these retro machines. Alright, a change of plans. We're going to pop this adapter off of here very carefully. Unplug its power connection. Put him aside. I'm going to use one of these SD card to Ide adapters since I couldn't find any of my other compact flash cards. And for this, we're going to use a 4 gigabyte SanDisk SD card. I'm going to plug him in just like so. And of course it needs an IDE cable, which I've got right here. Let's put it in the other IDE slot since it seems to be the master. Oh, this one has one of those block pins and all the pins are populated on the board. Well, let's try to find another cable. I have a few of them down here. We'll see what we have. You can probably hear the bag rustling that I keep them in. Found another IDE cable, but it wouldn't serve the purpose. There's another one with blocked holes on it. Here's one that doesn't have blocked holes. See, all the holes are open on there. All right, let's try this again. Bit of a chore getting that on there. All right, power's connected, the card's in the slot. Now to plug this in. Pin 1 is here, and the only way I could tell that is because there's one square solder pad right there, solder hole for that pin. All the rest of them are round. That's connected. All right, let's power him on and we'll see what happens. Went back to the screen capture. There we go. We'll get into the BIOS. Doesn't do LBA. Curious. Q692. I don't think that controller is liking that SD card. You know what? Let's set that to auto. Set the mode to auto, and we'll see what it does when it boots up. Primary master hard disk fail. Well, I did say the onboard controller might not be working at 100%. Let's go back into the BIOS. Disable the onboard IDE port. Disable the onboard floppy controller as well. I'm going to save that. Then we'll turn him off. I'm going to get an ISA controller for IDE and floppy, and we'll see if we have any better luck. Alright, I grabbed a little pretty standard WinBond multi-IO controller with IDE and floppy and of course parallel and serial. It has a game board on board as well. Let's go ahead and connect these cables. Floppy cable, just like so. And the IDE cable for that SD card. We'll plug in just like so. Then, get out of here, postcard. Then we will plop this down in that IDE port. I've already disabled the onboard controller for floppy and IDE in the board's BIOS, so we shouldn't have any issues. But let's give it a test and see. Alright, booting back up here. If you heard the beep, we'll get into the BIOS and we'll see if it auto detects. Auto detects just fine. We'll try LBA mode. We'll save and exit, and we'll see what happens. IO port conflicts. That makes sense. Let's get in there and see if we can't solve those. There they are. We'll just disable those because they're also on that card. All right, let's try that again. Love that hard drive seek noise. drive A isn't showing correct. Maybe it's not saving BIOS information. Seems to be working though. Or not. Alright. Let's restart this, get back into the BIOS, and we'll fix that drive. Set it to the proper setting. We'll give it another shot. I want to do one more thing. Let's see if there's anything on that hard drive. Change that to CA for the boot sequence. So it'll try the hard drive first. We'll see if there's anything on that card. When I looked at it earlier, it had looked like it had all the boot files for an MS-DOS partition, or for an MS-DOS hard drive. But we'll see. There we go. 486 SX2, 50 megahertz, 8 megs RAM, 1.44 meg, 3.5 inch drive. And it looks like it's hanging there. Let's give it a minute and see what happens. I remember it did this before. That was supposed to be PCI device listing. I don't have any PCI devices on this board right now. Oh, it's being slow about it. Let's stop this. I'm going to set that hard drive to what it calls normal mode. I assume that's CHS mode for cylinders, heads, sectors. We'll pick 1 for not large, just normal. We'll set those to disabled. And we'll restart. There it goes. Looks like it's working just fine. I'm not sure why the screen's a little yellow. Probably a product of my screen captures device. Let's hit escape on here. Nope, it got right into Windows. So it booted Windows 95. It is trying to detect everything. So it looks like the controller, at least the IDE controller on the motherboard, is faulty. But that's okay. The board mostly works. At least we can put a multi-IO card on the motherboard and it seems to work just fine. It's a little slow for Windows 95, but Windows 95 should work just fine on a 50 megahertz 486SX. Looks like it's doing just fine. And if all the PCI and ISA slots work on this motherboard, it would make a pretty decent 486 system. It's wanting me to change the date and time. I'm not going to do all of that. I'm going to wait for it to get done with all of this and then reset the, well, properly shut down the computer. We'll do that from Control-Alt-Delete and the Task Manager. Trying to remember all the keyboard shortcuts for this is... There it goes. And there's that classic screen. All right. Going to turn this computer off. At least we know this board mostly works. The onboard controller isn't that big a deal. It does have one broken memory socket, but the board boots just fine by putting memory in the other sockets, or the other slots for memory rather. So it is a bit limited, but it seems to work just fine now. All right, thank you for joining me, and hope to see you again.